This is BBC World. Now ecological issues are highlighted in Earth Report.
Earth Report with Shell, partners in sustainable development.
Genetically modified crops excite powerful emotions and divide opinion in Western Europe. The fear is that GM crops will wreak havoc with plant ecology. But in many developing countries, farmers take a different view. Transgenic crops developed to withstand drought, disease and pests are the route to food security and extra cash. Bypassed by the Green Revolution, Africa is the only continent where food production has fallen behind population increase. Could GM crops banish the threat of food shortages in the world's poorest continent? In this week's programme from Africa, we cover another issue on the World Summit agenda: are GMOs friend or foe of sustainable development?
In the 1980s, the Luwero Triangle was one of Uganda's notorious killing fields. Unknown thousands died here during the Civil War. Once well-tended farms reverted to bush. Yet here in Luwero, Margaret Nabwire is enjoying bumper yields of her banana crop. So much so, it's transformed her life.
Before, I used to have problems because I produced small bananas, like the ones you see here. Then some people came from the Kawanda Research Institute, and they brought me a different variety, which I started planting towards this side. Now, these are the bananas that I got from their seedlings. This breed of banana has made me proud. I can eat ripe bananas from it. I also eat cooked banana and mix it with other foods. My family is able to feed on it, and they are very happy with it. Even myself, I'm happy because it's soft and has no diseases. No one can dissuade me from this type of banana because it's good, and I appeal to anyone who wants to try them to come for some of the banana seedlings. I have enough, so they can also go and plant these bananas and benefit like me.
In Uganda, bananas are a staple food for adults and children alike, but they're often blighted by disease and need heavy rainfall. And on their own, they can't supply all the vitamins necessary for a healthy life. At a National Research Institute, banana seedlings are being cleaned of harmful bacteria and fungi. Then they're propagated in a special medium to ensure rapid growth. Banana trees produced this way reach maturity faster and give far higher yields. They're also disease-free. The technique is known as tissue culture. It's just one of several aspects of biotechnology now changing the lives of African farmers.
What we see here is a banana. The variety is Uganda Green, is very popular with the farmers. We get it from research centers, selected materials, and when it comes here, we reduce it to the level you are seeing it, and then we cut it first, longitudinal-wise. After 4 weeks, we cut it again, and then we put it in a media where there is hormones for multiplication so that the shoots start growing, and then from those shoots, we multiply it until we get to the number that is required by the farmers.
Crops are also being genetically altered to acquire useful characteristics, to fight pests, resist drought, and even provide vitamins and vaccines when they're eaten. Biotechnology is already widely used on many foodstuffs in the rich world, but not everyone's happy. there are genuine concerns about the dangers of tampering with nature. How safe to eat are biotech foods? How thoroughly have they been tested? What about long-term effects on humans? How objective is the marketing hype of the huge multinationals that develop these products?
That's why I'm scared. I need more information, just like all the other farmers in Africa, like all the other people in Africa. Even the policymakers don't have this information. They are just listening to debate from the developed world.
And in the developed world, that debate has aroused strong passions. Frustrated by the sheer power of big business, protesters have resorted to direct action. They're often well-informed, with very real concerns.
How about the health risks? Yes, we might have the food, but how about the health? How about the environment? What's going to happen to the environment in successive generations?
Damage to the environment is not the only worry. In recent months, scares over anthrax and other forms of bioterrorism have alarmed the US, Britain, Australia, Japan, and several other countries. Although most turned out to be hoaxes, they've alerted experts to the horrors of biotechnology in the wrong hands.
Human nature is human nature. There'll be always those with the crooked minds who will want to misuse it for other purposes. Already we know biological warfare has been used against humans, and biotechnology is no different.
In Africa, such concerns are countered by the overwhelming pressure to produce more food. Over the past 2 generations, world population has tripled from 2 to 6 billion. In the next 20 years, it could climb as high as 8 billion. Most of them will be born in the poorest countries on Earth. Just to match current consumption, food production has to double by 2020, an unlikely target. Unless something is done, Africa faces growing starvation. Twice the size of the United States, the continent straddles the equator where extremes of rain and drought make farming more difficult than in the temperate West. Worse still, in the past 30 years, Africa's infrastructure has all but collapsed. Farmers trying to sell their produce are hampered by breakdowns, lack of refrigeration, and roads that are often washed away. It's hardly surprising that biotechnology is far more attractive in Africa than in Europe.
Fertilizer is a very big problem. Inputs to control pests and diseases is a very big problem. So you find that the kind of external impacts that impact on the production at the smallholder level is extremely high, to the extent that they can hardly produce adequate to feed themselves and to feed the remaining population in Kenya.
But how does genetic modification work? The inherited character of all living things is based on their genes. Genes are made from deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. A particular gene is essentially a chain of DNA with a characteristic molecular sequence. DNA has an identical structure wherever it's present. Indeed, different species have far more in common with each other than we realized a few years ago. Chimpanzees, for example, share 98% of human genes. Dramatic strides in our understanding of genetics now make it possible to transfer a particular gene between 2 different species. The simplest method relies on brute force. A purified stock of DNA is mixed with microscopic pellets of tungsten or gold. The target cells are placed in the line of fire and the pellets are shot into it. The DNA finds its way to the cell nucleus and the cell acquires foreign functional genes. By doing this, with the cells of foodstuffs, almost anything is possible.